Thank you very much for joining us here on Join Caucus. My name is Evans Mensah. Here we are proudly partisan. This week we'll be looking at two key issues that dominated the headlines this week. We're talking about the sense of insecurity in Kumasi right now. Today, the latest is that we understand that the police administration, they are borrowing men from across the country. All 9 regions are contributing men to the Kumasi efforts to try and rid the city of these armed gangs terrorizing people there. Now, we've heard a lot from some MPs from Parliament. Some have even suggested that it's time maybe to encourage, like in the US, people arming themselves, buying their own guns so they can defend themselves in situations like that. We'll look at that also. But also, indeed, has the security operatives been on top of the issue? Have they done enough to instill a sense of security in people in Kumasi? We'll look at that particular question also when we start our discussion. Then later, there is a court case that is set to begin at the High Court. Justice Beggar, who is challenging the certification of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as a lawyer. He claims he's found evidence that contradicts the claims made over the past several years that Nana Addo indeed is a qualified lawyer of repute. We'll look at his evidence and subject it to some scrutiny here on Joint Caucus. With me to look at the issues is a former Attorney General, a man who is indeed a heavyweight in the NPP, Mr. Ayikoti. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Also been joined by MP for Nanton, who is Murtala Mohammed. This is the first time this year that he's joined us on the show. And indeed, it's the first time I'm seeing him since he was elected to Parliament, so congratulations are in order. We'll look at the issues shortly, and I would like to start first with Mr. Murtala, obviously because the President spoke about this. He called the security chiefs, first time unprecedented indeed, and briefed the media. We know every morning the President is briefed by his security chiefs, but this time, because of the special situation in Kumasi, he decided to brief, allow the press in to hear what exactly was going on. The question to you is, and I've heard some MPs also make this point, that this happened over several days, at least 2 days, when we had the incidents of the sporadic shooting. The suggestion is that the government had not done enough to deal with the situation in a timely and urgent manner. How would you respond to that?
Well, first and foremost, let me say good evening to your viewers and particularly my people in Nanton constituency. I'm wondering the kind of agency that people expected His Excellency the President to have given to the issue. I think that the President can be found everywhere. The President has representation and the personality of the security agencies who are found in every region, every district. And when that thing happened, clearly His Excellency the President was briefed as to what was happening. You realize that the regional police commander, I guess they held even a press conference and indicated that they were on top of the security in the region or the metropolis. Mind you, this thing happened, it was just spontaneous that the security agencies, it happened in the night or in the evening. Yeah. The security agencies paid the claim or the information they gave. By the time they got that, the people were no more. And in any case, when you have something like that, which is unfortunate, you need to study the situation very well. It's something that we should not encourage as a people. It's something that we should all be concerned about, because clearly the security of this nation can never be joked with, more so when it is happening in one of the largest cities, if you like, of the nation. So I don't think that that argument has any basis, or that argument that His Excellency the President should have indeed briefed the press as what. The President doesn't necessarily need to brief the press or make a statement on every single issue, as long as the information that was given to him by the security agencies was something he was comfortable with, and indeed they indicated. So if the President sees the need to make a comment now, I think that we can only commend him. The fact is that the security of this nation is of paramount importance to all of us. So I don't think that that argument has any basis. I don't think so. Mind you, some arrests have been made. On my way, I listened to your station, Joy FM, and the police commander in Ashanti region indicated that they have made some arrests and they are helping them to ascertain. I really cannot conclude that it was an issue of armed robbers. I believe that until investigation is commenced into it, maybe probably would get to know more information. But I just don't want to believe that it was just armed robbery. You know, it happened by the time they got there. It was, and the next day we're told that it happened again in another suburb of the metropolis. I think that we should just keep our fingers crossed. But I have no doubt in mind that the security agencies will deal ruthlessly with those who are engaged in that. And if there are faces, maybe faceless individuals who are behind it, I don't think that they can get away with it. One thing I would want to admonish all of us, it is not an issue of NDC MPP. It's an issue of the stability of this country. It's an issue of peace and tranquility that we're enjoying as a people. And if some people think that they can do that to make the country ungovernable, people have made statements to that effect. Mounted platforms of groups, organized by groups associated with political parties, and made all manner of statements. Your station carried some of such statements made by people on platforms. They will make this nation ungovernable, they should ban schools, they should kill people. I don't think that that is one thing we need to be looking forward to. And I expect that everybody, regardless of your political shade, you will condemn this dastardly act because it doesn't help anybody. Once you do that, the people in the metropolis are not in peace. I think the students will be frightened, businessmen will be frightened, and if you think that that will make the country or make the government uncomfortable, I think that you'll be making a very big mistake. So I am very convinced. The reportage on your station, they interviewed some residents of Kumasi, and they say they are very comfortable now because they have the presence of other security men, police officers from other regions who are coming to help this. We shouldn't have gotten to that stage anyway. Unfortunately, we have gotten to that stage. And I am very convinced that the security will be able to deal with those who are behind such. But I don't think that is just an issue of armed robbery, and because that is the conclusion that is given. Armed robbers were shooting. I mean, armed robbers are in to rob, and I don't think that per the reportage we had, they were robbing, they were just shooting. And I think that there is more to it than just armed robbers coming to shoot.
Let me bring in Ms. Otto now. Ms. Otto, are you convinced about the way this has been handled, or are we blowing it out of proportion, really?
Well, it is said that most times, you know, incidents could happen. But it is when it is reported that we begin to know and then to be worried one way or the other as to whether or not the proper steps are being taken. I think that if you look at the Constitution, the President is the head of state and head of government. He's also the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Again, you find Article 58 that the executive authority of Ghana shall vest in the President, shall be exercised in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution. So I don't believe that it is completely out of place for people to call on the president. He has the executive authority to immediately see to it that things are brought to normalcy. I do not believe that it is a proper way to go. And I don't also think that it is necessary to read any meanings into it as to anybody saying that it's going to make the government or the ungovernable and the rest. You know, when you do that, then you play the political card, and then it becomes the NDC MPP thing once again. But let's look at, let's deal with lawlessness if it is. Let's deal with armed robbery if it is, and ask ourselves, where did the people get the arms from? I mean, because these were people who were wielding arms, and we're talking about AK-47s and very dangerous weapons. Where did these things come from? Who armed them?
That's a central question, isn't it?
Very, very important, and that is why you have to call on the president. He has the executive authority of this country to see to it that immediately something is done. And, well, the fact that he did call people to the Flagstaff House, and he had a briefing of the press, and we are being told of presence of security personnel there. That's okay, because he has power to even think of curfews and the rest. We know what happened in the north, you know, the constant bashing of the MPP about the death of somebody, and is it the Yindi, you know, Yana and all that, the difficulties that, you know, arose. So that if you don't nip some of these things in the bud, and then you play the political game, but before you say, Jack, things are getting out of hand, I don't think that is what we are looking for. So collectively, I think we all have a responsibility to ensure that if there is lawlessness going on out there, that should be brought to an end as quickly as possible, and let the people go about their legitimate businesses in a free and in what we call freedom in development.
We've had some MPs this week, and indeed the MPs coming from Kumasi, a caucus of them, called for the military should be brought in to deal with the matter. Is that something that you will support?
Well, that is the legal framework. You have the military for external, protection, and then for internal protection, you have the police. But anytime you have a difficulty where the police find it inadequate, then you bring in the military. So you have a joint military and police presence. But it is not the first thing to call on the military, no. You use the police first. Then you can bring in the military to assist. So if we've gotten to a stage where the extent of lawlessness said that the military will be required, then I'm all for it. We have what we call joint military and police patrols at night and the rest. They all help. They all help.
I want to bring you in now because the central question that was also raised as this unfolded was this affordable housing project, because the 150 individuals who were picked up by the police, most of them came from this particular hideout, and it's become a den, we understand, for robbers, criminals, etc. The question is, what is happening to that project? Because it's become one of the key challenges as far as security is concerned from the police's own account.
Well, I really don't know the intelligence the security had, and for which reason they had to go to that place to arrest those individuals. I guess that the arrest was occasioned by what happened in Kumasi. Yes, you can have criminals who are using a particular place as a hub, but when you have an incident like what happened, if you don't have any evidence suggesting that those who are engaged in it indeed came from that particular area, I think that it should be misplaced for you to just go there picking people.
That's the police.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't have it there. I don't know the intelligence that they had. But what we experience in this country is that any time at all there is an incident like this nature, what the security agencies do is that they go to identifiable places that they think that armed robbers or criminals are hiding, and then make some arrests. And I guess that probably that was the reason. What I do know is that no matter what arrests they make, they certainly would want to scrutinize them. They certainly would interrogate some of them. And I believe that they can get some information as to whether those people were engaged in it. But on the issue of the affordable housing project, I think that is something that should be of cosmic concern to all of us, that you start a project and the project was not complete. I think that there have been several cries as to why we have abandoned those projects, and I think that some explanations have been given as to why. I think that as a people, we need to ensure that at least we continue, regardless what was misappropriated, if there was any. I think that it becomes a state property. The onus lie on us to see how best we can. But I believe that question can probably be directed, I believe, to the Minister for Works and Housing. I have no doubt in mind that there is some plan. I heard that there is some plan with regards to completing such projects.
But is it also because of the politics that this whole affordable housing project?
It's not just politics, it's about financing.
Was subjected to.
It is not just politics, it's about financing.
But you recall very well when the MPP started it.
I'm saying that it is not just politics, it's about financing, it's about contract. How do you continue? Do you just continue? Will there be some financial challenges that you encounter as a result of how the contracts were awarded? And I say that this is one thing we all need to look at. So it would be too simplistic to just presume that, oh, it's about politics and that government must. There are a lot of projects that were started by previous, and we have that culture, unfortunately, that the previous administration started a project, will come and then you wouldn't. But this NDC government and the province demonstrated that we needed to continue some of those projects, and where we even need to give commendation to the previous administration for starting something, you would. I think that we need to look at it in that perspective. Certainly people would want to take advantage of such facilities because it's not complete, people are not using it. I mean, state money is spent in it. But I think that the earlier we resolve some of the challenges therein and then ensure that we complete such housing projects for people, I believe the better for all of us.
Mr. Otu, what should government do? Because from the accounts we've had from the police command in Kumasi, that affordable housing project is posing a challenge because a lot of people are in there that they believe are the criminals behind this. Indeed have arrested 150 of them. Should we complete the structures or evict the people there and bring some sanity to the situation in Kumasi?
You see, there is this constitutional injunction in Article 35(7) that as far as practicable, a government shall continue to execute projects and programs commenced by the previous governments. I do not think it is good enough to, play politics with everything. I mean, this is a constitutional injunction. We've been remanded because we all know that we have only 4 years as a government in power. You may get a second term, you may not. So you may start projects and you may not necessarily complete them. If someone else takes over the mantle, what is expected that it shall continue as far as is practicable. What is wrong with the buildings that have already been roofed and all you need is just to do the finishing? Even if you give it out to people to go and complete it, I think they will do it because the most important aspect is getting the roof. If you remember Apruk Tech, and they don't say why you should build a house, finish before you even roof. So you rather start with the roof. Once you get a roof over your head, then you are sure you've got something. And these buildings, we are told, have all been roofed already. So why should they be left, deteriorating and then become the den of robbers? If the police are telling us they did a swoop and they've taken people from that area, what reason do we have to doubt? So we have created a situation by failing to adhere to the Constitution, a situation where people are now using the place as a den of robbers, and it's not the best. So I believe that, as my brother has just said, if it is true that they think the Ministry of Water, Housing, and whatever, will want to take it on board and try and finish these projects early, we all know the housing deficits that we have in this country. So what is the point of abandoning it? I do not think it's payback time that somebody buys an aircraft and then a successive government says, look, I'm not sure about how this thing was done and therefore I'm not going to use it, we better take it back. This is not, aircraft, presidential jet is for one person to use. These houses will house Ghanaians. As many people as possible would have, opportunity to be housed. So we don't have to, almost every time want to, pay back time. And I don't buy the argument that when you complete, they will say that we started it. Why? Somebody must start, somebody should finish. It shouldn't be a worry to anybody. I remember when we came in 2000, the airport extension had already been completed. And one of the very first things Kufuor did was to go and commission that thing. That's okay. I mean, we all know that he could not have accessed money and do all that. So why should it be a bother to the NDS to say that, well, if we go and continue your project, you will say that you started it. So if that is the case, we're going to start a new project from beginning to the end.
With the license is about finance.
Oh, I don't believe so. I don't, because, we've just read our budgets, we've done the various appropriations. If we need money to finish it, you don't think that it can easily be factored into the budget? It can. Why should we have to go and start a new, maybe, housing project somewhere? All this talk about XTS and South African projects and this, and when we have something already in place, and all we need to do is just to complete it. So they have got to look at it.
1 minute to respond, we can move on to the next subject.
First and foremost, I think that, like I said, the NDC demonstrated our willingness, if you like, or preparedness to continue with projects started by the previous administration. But I think that the MPP didn't do that. Our Avemi Rice project, it was absolutely left to rot. The extent to which even, if you look at, because it was the state money, it doesn't matter how the contract was signed. Some people were prosecuted, convicted, and sentenced, and it became the state property. But the MPP government refused to use it. Because of what? Flagstaff House. When President Mahama said he was moving in, you listen to leading members of MPP, the kind of statements they made.
But it's also because your party, when it was built, some said they should turn it into a hand.
Some said that, but the party didn't take a position. I've just given a classical example of the Avemi Rice project. You see, the challenge with regards to the affordable housing, by the time they finished, they had already allocated the houses to party cronies. You don't do that, because you build the houses for public service workers, sector workers, or even Ghanaians. Yet at the end of the day, you have one family. There was a list published. You have one family which would have several people who are having those housing. And I think that there are a lot of issues. What is the use in putting up an affordable house, yet you allocate the houses to party cronies. You allocate the houses to people who already have homes. And I think that there are a lot of challenges. And like I said, there could be several reasons. And that is why I said that I believe that the best person to answer this question will be the Minister for... Exactly, okay. So that he will be able to tell. But I do know that government of Ghana, under President Mahama, indeed has indicated that all those projects must... In fact, there were a lot of projects that were started by the previous administration, and then DC completed some of the projects.
Okay. So this affordable housing project?
Absolutely, dependent on the challenges therein.
Okay. Let me make the point quickly. You see, I do not think that in all fairness, my brother can say that almost all the houses were distributed to cronies of the party. It's not true.
I didn't say almost
in any case, you came and cancelled them.
Why?
That is all right.
Why?
If you have cancelled, you are the government in power. Complete it and give it to those who need them. That is all.
I want to move on quickly to our next topic, and it's a legal one that has been talked about quite extensively. I'm sure Ms. Otu and Murtala Mohammed have read about it. But I want to start by reading some of the reliefs in there. I'm talking about Justice Kpega's suit at the High Court against the flag bearer, the 2012 flag bearer of the NPP, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Now, Relief 2 says, a declaration that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's name is not on the latest edition of the Roll of Lawyers in Ghana, 1877 to February 1997. 3. A declaration that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is not entitled to practice law in Ghana. 4. A declaration that law firm established as Akufo-Addo Prempeh & Co. at 67 Kojo Thompson Road at Abraka, Accra, is an illegal law firm and therefore not competent to represent any party in litigation before any court in Ghana. 5. A perpetual injunction restraining the said Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo from holding himself out as a lawyer competent to practice in a Ghanaian court or anybody regarding him as such. And says an order directed at the said Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who really is the most senior or dominant partner in the said law firm, to close down the said law chambers immediately, and a receiver manager appointed by this honorable court, and 7, any other relievers or relieves this honorable court may deem fit. And he comes to these relieves based on his own conclusion after investigations in both UK and Ghana that Nana Addo's name indeed was not on the roll of lawyers and was not properly called to the bar. Ms. Otu, I'm sure you've come before Justice Kpega before at the Supreme Court. Am I right to assume that?
Oh, I mean, he was a High Court judge when I knew him before he was promoted to Court of Appeal and finally the Supreme Court. So I've known him from the days he was a High Court judge.
Are you surprised at this rate?
You see, I'm worried. The fact that he had signed these writs and statement of claim to the media houses, I get a little bit worried because there is the complaint from the Magistrates and Judges Conference that they are not comfortable with lawyers discussing issues pending before the court. And therefore, I have been very careful in discussing pending matters. Rather, would like to look at the general principles and leave the public to draw their own inferences. But I went to City and they showed me the letters and copies of some of these things that he himself circulated to the press. Then I began to wonder whether he would still have the moral authority to complain that these things are being discussed if you have sent them out there. Now, to begin with, let me say that we have the Legal Profession Act, which is Act 32. I saw that it was referring to Act 38. Act 38 deals with the Arbitration Act. In fact, it is the Arbitration Act of Ghana, which is Act 38. But the Legal Profession Act is Act 32. We have the role of lawyers, all right, but we also have the qualifications for enrollment. The qualifications are that a person shall be qualified for enrollment if he satisfies the General Legal Counsel, A, that he is of good character, and B, that he holds a qualifying certificate granted under Part 2 of this Act by the General Legal Counsel. Now, this is for a lawyer, who maybe does his course in Ghana. But you can also have other people who were called abroad. And in that case, you are expected to come back to Ghana, go through a course at the Ghana School of Law for about 3 months. There are a few subjects we want you to look at, like our Ghana customary law, our land law, our family, systems, our constitution. As we all know, Britain, for example, hasn't got a written constitution. So if you train in Britain, then you would not have known what written constitutions are. So you need to know our legal systems, our legal methods, and all that. So you go through a course of training. Thereafter, you'll be called to the bar. It is after you've been called to the bar that your name will go on the roll of lawyers. Now, the names that appear on the roll of lawyers truly are those who have been entered as such as lawyers. But the point is that over years, people try to be seen like they're more Ghanaian. They want to feel that they are Africans. And you see, this thing was started by Kwame Nkrumah when he came and said, look, he doesn't like this Francis. He wants to be known as Kwame Nkrumah. Almost all his ministers, Kweku Baku, Kofi Baku, Tawia Damafio, Kofi Crab, Akwaje. I mean, if you go back in time, you find that almost all his ministers bore African names and just threw out some of these Christian names. So, for example, we all know that Nana Akufo-Addo had been known as William before. So, if for any reason he says, I don't want to use this William anymore, and I now want to be known as Nana Adudankwa Akufo-Addo, I don't think that it is that name that you don't find on a roll which would lead you to conclude that he's not a lawyer, because he needs to bring other qualifications.
But Justice Booker says that's illegal. He quotes the law to back this. He says the Board of Legal Education, established under Act 38, mandates that a person who attends the Ghana School of Law and is called to the bar by a particular name must use that same name in practice.
I have not seen it anywhere. And I'm saying that Act 38 deals with arbitration. It does not even deal with the legal profession. Legal Profession Act, which I have here on this iPad, is Legal Profession Act 1960, Act 32. If I open 38, it will be talking about arbitration. I'm not aware of any such provision. I'm aware that you could always change your name. You could swear a statutory declaration, because it is said that generally affidavits are meant for court cases. So don't go about swearing affidavits. But if you want to declare anything, go and swear a statutory declaration that, look, I don't want to be known by William so and so. I don't want to be called Nana Akufo-Addo. That I agree with him if he would say that there had not been a proper change of name. And I'm saying that it is nothing new. I am called Joseph. I've always said it. Not many people know me as Joseph. I don't use it. I don't say why I should be a slave to this colonial thing of some Christian name being given to me. I don't believe it. Originally, my name Ayukwe is spelled Ayiequuaye. Very long name when we were young. And then I saw Dr. Amon Nikwe spell his Nikwe as Nikoi. So I said, why should I continue Arye? I shorten it to Aykoi. So I know I've been the National Secretary of the Bar. There are times that when you want to be sure whether somebody is a lawyer or not, you may call. People write to me, they want to find out. We go to the roll of lawyers. We also do other searches to find out whether the same person might have. No, I agree.
He searched the roll from 1877 to 1997. He can't find any name bearing.
I have a copy of that, and in fact, I was given that copy because I was frequently going to the office of the Judicial Secretary, asking him to go through it. I said, hey, my brother, I think you are going through too many problems. Get a copy. This is the adversary copy, 1877 to 1977. Take that one and use it. And then he had a few leaflets also added. We all have it. I'm saying that if you go into the roll of lawyers, my name there is J.A. Otu. You will not find even Ayikwe Otu or even Joseph. It's J.A. Samuel Kujato was given that name, that example. Samuel Awuku Okudjato. He's been known everywhere. Some Okudjato, some Okudjato. These are Awuku known, many people know. Nuti Fafa Kunyanya. If you go inside, you find other names there. He's cut it short.
I find it hard to believe that a justice, a former Supreme Court judge, will get the law wrong in his writ. Such a serious matter as going before the court that he presided over, the highest court of the land, will get that act wrong.
No, to err is human. I mean, you shouldn't worry about that. To err is human. Everybody makes mistakes. Even the great Apollo, once we invited him to deliver Matters Day lectures. He had been away in Kenya for some time, and he had lost touch a little bit with our constitution. And I remember in the course of the lecture, there was a serious omission. It was a complete gaffe because what he was saying was not what was contained in our constitution. We drew his attention to it. So the next lecture, I think he had a 2-day or 3-day lecture. The next lecture, he quickly apologized. It doesn't really matter. We have the Supreme Court itself. We have rules, what we call the review, jurisdiction. They can give a judgment, all right, but they can get it wrong. If you go on review and they find that they've gotten it wrong, they change it.
I want to bring in Mutala. Some say this is trivial. Should we be pursuing this matter at all?
I'm not a lawyer, and I will not pretend to be one. But I would want my honorable panelists, I mean, let me call him, or a father, to answer one simple question. He indicated that no matter what law you do, once you come to Ghana, you have to go to the law school, if I heard him right. Let's do 3 months, right? Did Nanado do that?
I don't know.
Exactly. One of his arguments is that he never did. That is one of the things he said. And the question now is, if he didn't do, was it legitimate for him to practice law in Ghana? And I think that these are questions that I would want answers. 2, I think that he made another point about what he saw at City FM and the fact that the Judicial Council or the Ghana indicated that lawyers shouldn't be discussing matters that are... The NPP, after they filed their petition in court, didn't just circulate the petition to media houses. They held a press conference. And that press conference was chaired by no less a person than Nanado, who is supposed to be an astute lawyer, chaired by the national chairman of the party, and the running mate in the 2012 elections. They didn't just circulate it. They knew what they were doing. And I think that it shouldn't be fair to blame Justice Pega for doing that. The MPP did that. Nanado, the party, the leadership, they did that. And I think that he didn't even do what they did. Granted that he circulated his things to the media, they held a press conference and told everybody. I think that the judiciary of this country ought to be respected. And we all, that once you have a case in court, allow the due process of law to take its course. One other worrying trend that I have seen, I don't know the evidence Justice Pega has, but listening to people who commented on it, they did not talk about the substance of his case. They attacked his person repeatedly. Some called him as someone who is disillusioned. Some called him as someone who has a mental relapse. Leading members of NPP and some respectful individuals of the law in this country on Joy FM. They insulted the man and attacked him. And I don't think that it gets well. This man didn't go to Obra Sport or on the street. The man went to court challenging the legitimacy of someone practicing as a lawyer. And I think that if we respect the rule of law, what we need to do is to confront him with our evidence in the court of law. And I think that that is one thing I expect. As to whether he has a case or not a case, I don't think that I have any interest in it whatsoever. It will be good that we ascertain, because this is not the first time this thing is coming up. Nana Kwenedo, I can quite remember, even also came and also raised that issue. I'm told, I didn't hear Chachuchi Kata raising it, but I'm told in some of the discussions that he also raised such an issue.
But isn't that because it's become a political subject now?
I don't think.
And is the NDC pushing the agenda?
I don't think Justice Baga is an NDC man.
Some have said he is.
Oh,
some have said he.
Some have said you are an MPP man.
Some have said, well, I'm not.
Exactly. So,
I'm putting across what others have said on radio this week.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard that also.
That is the very point I'm making. There are people who claim Joy FM is an MPP station. Is Joy FM an MPP station?
Obviously not.
Exactly. So, but people who claim it's perception. I'm saying that as far as I know, and you know, Jesse Pega doesn't belong to any political party. He was a judge of the Supreme Court. And I think that regardless who that person is, we need to respect the office he once held. And that is the point I'm making. But you listen to people who are not supposed to even be political. On your program, they attack the man person. Some describe him as a madman. The man is challenging a case. He has taken a case to a competent court of jurisdiction. Let us respect his right to do the kind of things he's doing. What we need to do is to go to court and prove him wrong. But when you begin attacking him, then you send a signal to people. Maybe this man has a case. And I think that we need to leave it aside. I don't know the evidence he has. But I'm saying that if you even want to confront him with some of the things he's saying, confront the substance or the content of his case, but you don't attack him as a person. It will not be fair that someone has done that and we begin. But you see, it will also bring to closure. And I think that it is in the interest of the MPP and the interest of Nanado, if they so have a very genuine case, that all the claims that have been made by people, Nana Konedu and up to Justice Pega, all the claims that have been made are claims without any basis. I think that it should be in the interest of the MPP and Nanado himself to challenge them in court, and then we bring to closure this matter. And I think it helps all of us.
I'm worried at Mutale's angle, because when Nana Konadu said it, I thought their good professor came out to say that, please don't say that. Nana is a lawyer, we all know. So that should rather have put the matter to rest. Their own professor said so, that I know this man, he is a lawyer. Look, if you go into it, I said I didn't want to, but it gives people a lot of anxiety. You said you went through the role of lawyers and saw a name, W.A.D. Akufo-Addo. William Addo, Dankwa Akufo-Addo. You saw that name there. You are saying that Nana Akufo-Addo's name does not appear. So he's now impersonating that name. Can't Justice Pega show us any lawyer in Ghana going by the name W.A.D. Akufo-Addo, called in 1975, which tallies with everything that Nana Akufo-Addo has said? I have worked with him closely. He doesn't spell his name with double F. He says his name should be spelled A-K-U-F-O, never F-F-O. You can see all that there. The man was called to Ghana Bar. As far as that name goes, W-A-D or whatever refers to him. So what is your problem? What is this idea of impersonation? Why don't you go to the police? Make it a criminal matter for them to go arrest him and investigate. Then you go to court and you are using the fact that you can't find the name Nana Akufo-Addo. But what you find is W, which can stand for William Addo. A, Dankwa, D, Akufo-Addo, spelled with one F. You know, when you do this sort of thing, you create problems for yourself. And when people become so incensed that this man practiced before you, I don't think Chachuchikata ever said it. In the famous case of Dr. Mwakutufo versus the Republic, the combined lawyers who did that case were Nana Akufo-Addo and Chachuchikata. They did that case. Chachu cannot go and stand anywhere and say that Nana is not a lawyer. I don't think so. And, you know, this is a gentleman who had practiced before Justice Pega for years. I've been in court where I have, you know, seen Nana so incensed with some comments by, you know, Justice Pega then presided, said, you've never even ruled in my favor before. And I said, what are you saying? Don't you remember this case in which I ruled in favor? I was there personally. I could see the exchanges and all that. These things have gone on between them for some time. And we are, I mean, he tells me it's not NDC. Everybody knows him as NDC. If he doesn't,
the Chief Justice
I know him. No,
comment.
Please don't go there. I know the man.
I'm just asking
and
a question.
I'm saying that he's been NDC. Now, why are you asking that his law firm should be closed down? Are you aware that it is this law firm that's doing this case for the petitioners? All the writs are filed from that office. Are you asking that office to be closed down? What is the effect?
I want to go with that to respond to some of the issues.
I don't want to go there.
I think that this argument is it's a flawed argument. I've listened to many people that he practiced as a lawyer. He came before Justice Pega For all this while, why is it that he never came out to challenge Nana Addo as a lawyer, so to speak? Why? Why? If I didn't have evidence at that time, why should I come out going to court? And I think it's a very flawed argument. Like I said, I don't know the evidence he has. But I ask a simple question. Based on the statement he made, that no matter how you are trained, you must go to the law school. I don't know whether it's a legal position in this country. If it is, I ask a simple question. Did Nana Addo go to the law school?
There's a
Please.
name in the role of lawyers.
Oh, I just it doesn't matter what name. I'm just
we need to quickly.
So Evans, that argument is a flawed argument.
There's nothing flawed about it.
I'm not saying fraud. I say it's a flawed argument. The fact that he has appeared before Justice Pega for all this while. Well, Evans, if I know you, I have worked with you, maybe in Joy FM for a very long time. May God forbid, you are here with a fake document. You don't have the certificate you claim you have. And I have worked with you based on the fact that you produce a certificate which I consider to be genuine. And after some time, I realized that that certificate is not genuine. Even if it takes 100 years, and I come out to say that based on the evidence I have now, this certificate is not genuine. People shouldn't use it as a basis to doubt the man's integrity and the fact that he didn't. So I think it's a flawed argument. And I don't think we need to go there.
I need to quickly wrap up because my producers are.
I know.
Insisting.
You know, Mr. Mutala ought to know that professional people are trained and therefore they have certain technical know-how. If you go and stand before a judge in a civil matter and you say, I'm appearing for the accused person, straight away there will be eyebrows. Because in a civil case, you are appearing either for a plaintiff or a defendant, a petitioner or a respondent or something like that. So you don't go there, start talking about accused person. So your own output will let people see you. We have chased people out of the legal profession, people who've tried to be lawyers, because when they come, the way they behave, nobody will tell you. The language they use, the technical know-how is simply not there. And that is why people are questioning. These are people who are prepared.
You see, it's interesting. Assuming that you have someone who went to the law school, let's say in United Kingdom, and then he's trained as a lawyer, he's trained. And by the time he finished, or even finished, they realized that, okay, the certificate for which reason he was given an admission into the law school was faked. Even though he's trained as a lawyer, then his certificate is stripped. Such a person comes to pretend to be a lawyer. He can be the best lawyer of all standing. Yet he doesn't have the certificate. So the fact that someone appeared, he knows everything, I don't think that is a strong point.
There is nothing in the writ saying that he has not even been called
no, it's an example
to the UK bar. He has not said so.
This is a case that will be called
maybe he's not a lawyer in Ghana, but I'm telling you that it is not there.
This is a case that will be called shortly before the High Court, and we'll see how the argument pans out. But thank you very much for joining us here on Joint Caucus. With me, looking at the various issues, and of course the latter one indeed was a bit heated, but we'll see how that pans out in court. Murtala Mohammed, MP for Nanton, and the former Attorney General, Mr. Ayiko, too. I'm grateful for your time, gentlemen, and thank you for watching us here on Joy News. My name is Evans Mensah.